chest, shoulder, and back machines.
Yeah.
Elite.
Yeah, because the leg press sucked, hey?
Yeah.
But needed a good, like, the rail 45.
Yeah.
But we definitely underappreciated how good it was.
100%. And that's why, like, the grass isn't always greener. Like, people are like, oh, you know, like, some people complain still. And I'm like, oh, I've trained at, like, 5 other gyms around the whole area. And I'm like, that gym still has the best equipment.
Yeah.
Weights, dumbbells, barbells.
Yeah.
Like, even that stuff. Like, that makes a difference, man. Like, barbells.
Yeah, power bars and shit.
Yeah, even just good
bars.
barbells.
Yeah.
Like, those Aussie barbell ones. Like, you can tell an Aussie barbell.
Yeah.
And a cheap Chinese one.
Yeah. Straight away.
Just by holding it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know people are going to be like, oh, it just holds weights, whatever. But, like, I don't know. It just feels sturdy.
I know as soon as I unrack a bench.
Yeah.
If my hands start to shake, shit's a cheaper. Unless it's a proper ollie bar, because it'll do it with us as well.
Yeah, I think training for 2.5 years on a power bar, like most barbells don't feel right.
Yeah.
Now. So just like, this needs to be nailed to fuck and stiff.
And so stiff.
And just stiff, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. Like, I love bench pressing on it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like elite.
Yeah.
Almost just want to take
I hate
it everywhere.
deadlifting on them, though, because I'd spent so long on a deadlift bar.
Yeah.
Ugh. That extra 2 inches is just too far.
Just pop it up on some plates, man. Yeah. Not a power lifter anymore, mate. You can make your own rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still blasphemy.
But yeah, I'd like the plate loaded pull down, the converging presses, overhead and chest.
Yeah.
I reckon if you had those.
So I feel like that credit goes to Phoenix.
Yeah, because they ordered the equipment.
Their gyms were sick.
Yeah.
All of them have good equipment. All the good life that used to be Phoenix
I think
Fitness.
the Nautilus range at that time was in a really good place as well.
Yeah.
I think
Remember when we were there though, and we would go to gyms because they had hammer strength stuff?
Yeah.
And now you're like, hammer strength kind of sucks.
I think they were just the first to like bring in machines that like targeted, you know, specific areas of the muscles that we had access to. Because like in the States, it's like so many different types of machines now.
Yeah.
Like, you listen to people on their YouTube and stuff, and they're like, oh, you know, it's this brand or whatever, and it's like looks sick. You know, we just don't have that amount of variety because there's not as many people.
You think Prime's the number one now?
I don't know if it's number one. I think they have a very different. They service a part of the market that nobody else does.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could say number one, but I think they're the only
specialist kind of.
Yeah, I think they're like just, you know, it's even like Watson's. Like they were like, you know, everyone would be like, oh, Watson's is, you know, the best, and it's kind of like now people are like, you know, that's okay, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think Prime have done the same thing. They're just the first to do.
Yeah. I think the standout thing with Watson and Atlantis training at ASP for ages, like that gym's been there 10, 15 years. The stuff's fucking brand new.
Yeah, it's a quality. Yeah.
Man, like even I don't know if they've ever recovered them, but even like the coverings and it's like it's fucking perfect.
Yeah, you can
Always.
tell. That's the thing you can see when people have gone down the route of like just ordering it straight from, you know, like a place that makes a replica of it.
Yeah.
Because like they just get hammered so quickly. Like if you're in a commercial gym that's taking volume, like you're gonna chew through the pad and the machine's gonna get that Atlantis
cable station at ASP is like,
that's elite.
What is it, like 35 grand?
Yeah.
Or something, but it's fucking.
I love that.
You would have bought 3 of them.
Yeah,
in the time they've been open.
Love how the seated row alters in height. I love how there's different foot plate angles. Yeah. It's just so varied in your training. Yeah. You could do everything cable wise on that.
And they have all the grips there too.
Yeah. So that would be good. And I'm looking for a chest supported row at the moment. I'm really set on getting one.
I liked the Prime one we used at Doldy's.
Yeah, I like I want either that one or the one that's got the multi grips, the swivel and the ability to change the width.
Yeah. I think Nexus guys have that.
Yeah, okay.
Or they either have the Prime one or that one.
Yeah, I want that one. I want the multi grip one. Yeah, with the angles and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want it secondhand, so someone else has paid the retail price, and I'm just
and shipped it.
Yeah, so I'm getting the frustration price, which is I need this gone.
Yeah.
It's for my garage, so
yeah,
I'm gonna piece together everything. I reckon.
Yep. Car still gonna fit?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I might have to get some storage and like put stuff in there. So I just rotate it. But I don't use the hack squat as much now, so
yeah,
might just have to put that in. And then I've been thinking about buying a hack squat, like just one of those all-inclusive, cable Smith machine squat racks.
Yeah.
Because I could just sit that in the corner of my garage, and then I have so much space.
Yeah.
And then I just put like the cable station in storage, like for when we move to the gym, because it's really good for that.
Yeah. My training's so different now to when I kitted the garage.
Yeah.
It's like probably just take it all apart and start again. Just come to your house.
Does anyone want a mono?
For the right price.
Yeah. No frustration price. We're going to sell it. Yeah. That's a specialty piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to.
And I've got it comes with a squat bar that I've used once because I changed feds.
Yeah. But yeah, I could talk about exercise equipment all day. Yeah. So fussy. It's a blessing and a curse.
You really are.
Yeah.
You really are.
I know.
I don't think that I don't train on machines enough or haven't for long enough for it to bother me.
Yeah.
But if I was to, like when I used to go to ASP, I took my own bar because the bars just do my fucking head in. So I get it.
It's just like when you know that once you've trained on something that feels good,
yeah,
you just want everything to be like that.
Yeah.
And then it's just not.
Why can't I have it all?
You just get frustrated. Yeah. That's why, like, I guess dumbbells are good because, like, just fucking same every time.
Do you know what we haven't thought about?
What?
We're going to be in Sydney in a couple of weeks. We haven't actually booked any podcasts.
We're pretty...
So, DM us if there's anyone worth speaking to. Because we could probably do, like, Saturday evening, Friday evening. Depends what time we leave here.
Friday evening. Oh, it's going to be a fun one.
Tam will drive.
Oh, can you drive now?
We'll
he could have drove before, yeah. We just never thought about it. Yeah. Sweet.
We just gave him the free ride. Tam's just pro sleep in the back seat.
Nah, you're harbouring some of that load now, Bo.
Hand it over.
Yeah.
You can drive home. Well, apparently the boys want to take us out, so we might need someone to drive us home.
That's getting out. That conversation was getting out of hand real quick. Fucking settle down, boys.
We're old and we have
2 Negronis. That's it. That's all I'm allowing myself.
So yeah, if there's anyone in Sydney you think we should speak to, let us know. We'll pack the kit.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, we could do Saturday morning because the workshop's not till midday.
Yeah, true. Oh yeah, true.
Yeah. Hopefully in the Penrith area, so we don't have to drive too far.
Yeah, hopefully I can squeeze a workout in too.
We'll have a nice Airbnb that we can set up in, and they can come to us.
Yeah.
Applications
Should be good. I'm actually keen as to go.
Yeah.
Bit fun.
I had a pump in a couple of weeks actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're going to the Goldie, aren't you?
Yeah. Queen or Brisbane next weekend.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and
Brisbane.
Then Sydney the week after, and recover a little bit, and then Christmas.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
I know, I got way too many parties to organise.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, save the date, bro. We're having a party on this date. We're in Sydney, Jason. Fuck. Yeah.
Love how, I just move house and then now every party's at my house.
Yeah. It's implied.
I just hate organising shit.
So you're having our one too?
Fuck, why not? But you guys, I don't want to have to organise anything. I'll
organise it, aka Amy will organise it.
I will hold.
We'll show up.
You guys can come to my house. What happens in it is up to everyone else.
Okay, done.
Yeah.
Done.
I just want to smoke cigars.
I'm in.
All right, easy.
So, questions you have had from... You said you had questions from people.
Yeah, I always get questions. Do you get questions? I get questions a lot.
Maybe I'm not an authoritative enough.
What about with your check-ins and stuff?
Yeah.
And clients ask you stuff that you can share with other people and stuff?
Yes.
Well, these are combinations of that. So I thought it'd be important. We'll start with ones that involve both of us, both of our expertise.
Okay.
Not that I'm saying that you can't contribute on the bodybuilding realm, but it's just more specific things that we both can contribute on. What's up, guys? Welcome to the STCfit Podcast, where we talk about all things nutrition, training, and how to live your best life. If you want some more information about coaching, our free resources, and other fitness-related content, be sure to check us out on our website at www.stcfit.com. All right, let's get to the episode. So I don't know if you experience it with your clients, but do you ever get that conversation of like, how does the client know that they're training hard enough? Like, how do they know whether they can push themselves a little bit further or that they're where they need to be in terms of their training? So like, what would you say for someone who like is just wanting to make sure that they know that, have that confidence that they're training hard enough?
Yeah. Like rep and reserve is obviously the metric. And that's like what we're saying is like I program the rep and reserve for every set every week. So that would be a starting point. But I think, and even using the testing week for someone who is unsure, using a testing week is really effective as well. So doing every exercise or most exercises to like a one rep and reserve really to find like where they can actually go to and just doing one set. I think videos are crucial because like even with my own training, like moving away from lifting as much, coming back, everything feels heavy and shit and slow.
Yeah.
And then you watch a video back, you're like, the cadence of that rep did not change. So that would be another thing that I'd be looking at, is like, this is a whole other story, but does the set slow down over time? Does the last couple of reps, are we actually seeing a slowdown in exercise?
Yeah.
But I think that can be a trap because a lot of people actually
then start to slow down.
Well, they move load slowly because they think they've seen someone move slowly, if that makes sense. So like, I was working with someone the other week, like on their rows, and like watching them contract really slow on their first like 3 reps. I'm like, fuck, this guy's not even going to get 5 reps on this. And did 12. I was like, are you like pulling or are you just moving? Let the weight make you slow.
Yeah, don't
be
slow down. Yeah.
Because you've seen someone on the internet move slowly. It's like that means the weight's heavy. It's not.
Yeah.
I see it obviously with the push of like having good form.
Yeah.
I think people like tend to do that a lot.
Yeah, and we did that. Like, that's when, you move to that like robotic kind of style of training, and it's like then you kind of heavily lean on sensation. Yeah. And then you go, oh, I've trained hard enough. And it's like, we haven't. It's a good way to learn how to expose your muscles to tension. Yeah. But then it's like you said, the load should alter the speed, because if you look at the relationship between force and velocity, the higher the force, the slower the movement. So the velocity goes down. Yeah. And then it's that relationship that's changing the degree of muscle fiber force in the muscle, because the myofilaments can touch to each other and spend more time in contact. So people are like thinking, okay, well, that means more slower is better. Yeah. But it's like, no, slow is not better. It's
you
like,
get to slow.
Yeah, the muscle's got to fucking be exposed to enough tension, so it's going to be hard enough to want that person to or need to a slower contracting velocity. Yeah. And contractile velocity changes as fatigue surmounts or certain elements of fatigue surmount. So you can have a movement, like you said before, where like the rep speed is a certain cadence, and then it just naturally slows down because fatigue starts to impede that muscle internally, and then the force or the mechanical tension would go up. Yeah. So that's a good indication rep speed.
I think for most exercises outside of maybe prime lifts or like compounds that you're still learning, you should see a change in either rep cadence or ROM.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think that's a good place to go. Heavier lifts, you won't see a huge deviation, but I think when you're like working with like 5s and stuff, that it's like, oh, there's only 1 or 2 left there. Yeah,
and I think if you're working at 5s, you're probably using a skill dominant exercise, so you're probably you're pulling back to like a 3 rep and reserve anyway.
Yeah, which you can get away with that because the load's so high. The threshold's greater, the recruitment's high, the tension's there.
If you're a strength focused athlete, if you're doing 5s in, I don't want to say my world, in the strength world, like I want to see you slow down. Yeah. In a 5. Like it's not that heavy. Yeah. Comparatively, you know what I mean? Like percentage of maximal load. And I think there's value in there's going to be times where you are training for skill in those lifts, and then there's times that if you're really trying to build strength and stuff, you got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the only things I would add or just reinforce is like obviously know what it feels like to push to that point where you can't do anymore. Like volitional fatigue actually happens, so like muscle can't perform the task and it has to have a momentary portion of recovery before it can continue again.
Yeah.
So it's like put yourself in movements that, you know, just can be done safely. So like a leg extension, just do as many reps as you can till you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Push-ups, if you can do push-ups proficiently, like don't do shitty push-ups, like do proper ones.
Yeah.
So do as many push-ups as you can. It's like you will know what that feels like when you cannot do another push-up. Like your muscles physically will not be able to do it.
Yeah.
Inverted rows, good ones as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do pull-ups and you got strength to all those movements, it's like you put yourself in that fatigue state. Like they're really safe. Don't bury yourself on a fucking squat.
Every week. Yeah.
Don't bury yourself on a squat. Like you're fucking. It's just dangerous.
Yeah.
You know. But it's like you can transfer that feedback,
the feeling,
to those other movements. Like there is a crossover effect that, you know, you'll get like from a feedback perspective. It's like, okay, like this is kind of that sensation. This is what it feels like. Like I'm pretty close. I'll stop now.
Yeah.
So you got to know like what capacity you have, you know, and each movement is good. So that's why we do, in most cases, we will recommend doing a testing week, because it just speeds up the ability to get to the zone where the stimulus is more sufficient.
Yeah.
Where if you don't do a testing week, it's fine. It's just that like it'll take you 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks to get to that zone. And it's like, it's just, you know, kind of speeding up the process in most cases.
Yeah. That often is about personality of the client too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got like the nerdy ones, the regimented ones will do it.
Yeah.
The bros.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah, but I find
they'll find it faster.
Yeah, I find the bro is more likely to overshoot.
Yeah.
Than under.
Yeah, yeah. And they'll find it faster just because, like, you know, it's funny, like I talk about bros with the utmost respect because I am one.
Yeah.
People talk about bros and like kind of think they're like stupid. It's like they are the most fucking intuitive people in the training realm.
Yeah, and like, what's the scientific method?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro training is the scientific method.
Yeah. Yeah. So people shit on them. It's just like, you know, sometimes their ability to rationalize things in some instances. But like if you're like a smart person that talks in bro. Yeah. Like we're talking about Mike Van with Chuck.
Yeah.
Like he's the perfect example of like a dude that kind of knows a lot about training but talks in bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so he's got the best elements of both worlds. Like I know all this like fucking angles of this and fucking pennation of the muscle, whatever. But I'm going to speak like this. Yeah. And I'm very intuitive on how I feel. So if this doesn't matter what this fucking says, like if this doesn't feel right and it doesn't line up with like kind of what I'm supposed to be doing for the exercise, I'm just going to fucking do it this way. Yeah. You know, so I think, like from a bro perspective, like they're good at that. They'll, like you said, they'll either overshoot or they'll maybe undershoot and then get there faster. Yeah. Because they're just like, this is nowhere near where I need to be. Yeah. And then, the other one is like just try and train with people that are like,
the trainer,
I guess, like maybe physically just or mentally just have a higher ceiling than you at the time. Yeah. Which is a really hard thing to do, I understand. So even just surrounding yourself in gyms where like people train hard, I think is a good thing to do too. Because you can just see
we talk about that so much that like you question yourself. Like I just decided like I don't train that hard. Yeah. And then trained with someone else who like I would be like, they train pretty hard. And just like, I don't want to be mean about it, but like after every set he was walking away going, fuck, this is so tough. I was like, I'm just playing with these machines. Like this isn't even a structured workout. So it's interesting who you're around makes a big.
Yeah. Where you train to. Like Louis said when we were in the podcast when they came down the road, boys. You can check out that podcast too if you're in the show notes because Tim's going to put it there.
On the STCfit
Look at me go trying to layer things in. He was saying, like, just how robust the system is, like how much we can push ourselves. Yeah. And there's people that are doing that, and you just want to kind of, and like he was more going on from it, like, they're not going to break, like, don't be so regimented with form, whatever. Yeah. But it also gives us a good indication to just how hard we can push ourselves, like, and nothing's going to happen. And like, if you can see someone do that, you're like, oh, okay, so like, I've got a little bit left in the tank, Yeah. So they're probably the best places to start. Probably went everywhere with that, but like there's probably some good take-home points in there.
Yeah, as we do.
Yeah.
Welcome to the STCfit Podcast if you haven't been here before.
So another question I got, which was a good one to layer on after this, is like, some people I get a little confused with just like when to up the weight. So when to kind of go and push more. Like, we talked about rep and reserve and stuff like that, but like that's still just like a guideline. Yeah. Like you're never gonna actually know. Like, oh, was that a 2.5 or was that a 3? Like you're never gonna know. And I know for me, I'm always going to try and just push that a little bit more. But some people get confused and they don't want to deviate from what's prescribed, or they just don't know if they can lift more weight. So like, what would be your advice to somebody who has a bit of apprehension behind lifting more, or knowing when to up the load?
It's probably the most consistent piece of feedback I give in check-ins.
Yeah.
Is going through and being like, hey, your volume load for this exercise is exactly the same as last week. I would rather see you go up in weight and your reps drop off than it be the same.
Yeah.
In most cases.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's select exercises that make that a little bit more challenging, but even with like those exercises, I think you could do another rep.
Yeah.
So that's what I look at. So typically prescribing a rep range, and then using that rep range as your guide. And if you hit the top end of the rep range at a particular load for all of your sets, you're going up next week.
Yeah.
And load.
Yeah. So,
and then if you're bottom end and you hit all of your sets at those reps at that load, then the goal next week is you do your first set to more reps and then try and hang on, basically.
Yeah. So if you're working in a 6 to 10 rep range, say you're using 100 kilos, you do 100 kilos for like 6s, work your way up 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s. Once you're getting 10s, you would up the weight, work as high up in the rep range as you can for the next set. You might get, so let's say 8.
Yeah.
And then you might get 7 and 6.
What that might even look like when you said go 6, 7, 8, like what that might even look like is like 6s across the board. The next week you get 8, 6, 6 or 8, 7, 5.
Yeah.
Like that's still, in my eyes, like you're still pursuing that progression.
Yeah.
Rather than it just being stagnant week to week.
Yeah. I think there's that's a great system and something that's really easily applied to most people. I think on top of that, like once the subjective difficulty of the sets drop, like you just have to have a reflective process after you train.
Yeah.
We have an article on stcfit.com/articles assessing your workouts, I think, something like that, where we go through like all the proxies to look for, session, exercise performance, set performance, even rep performance. Like, what am I thinking at each rep?
Between each rep, yeah.
And it's like those things become autonomous. So people are like, fuck, what do you mean, like thinking about what's happening between each rep? Like, well, you're thinking about something. It's just probably autonomous at the time.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about what you're having for lunch, or you shouldn't, like while you're training. But it gives you a bit of an idea of like, like how close to failure was it? Like what did it feel like?
Was there pain?
Yeah. Was there pain? Was there discomfort? Is there distortion in the target muscle? Like all these things, and they give you cues on like how to perform your next set. Add in videoing or filming your lifts, then you can kind of do what we just spoke about, like, technique, rep cadence, body language, all of that stuff. And then like after that, it's like, just fucking try, man.
Yeah.
Like I think a lot of instances, like if you have a progressive mindset around training, where it's like progress isn't going to happen linear, but you should want it to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have the pursuit of linear progression. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Because if you zoom out from week 1 you block to week 8, you're going to have progression because you've approached that whole training block that way.
Yeah. And that's what we're saying with like that idea that you might not go from 3 sets of 6 to 3 sets of 7. You might go 3 sets of 6 to first set is 8 and then it's 7 and then it's 4. Like that progressive mindset, the volume load that's going to accrue over the 8-week block is still going to be better if you just accepted last week's numbers.
Yeah.
So pursuing that just that little bit more all the time, I think, is to be in that frame of mind. And people will be out there arguing, like you said, but progress isn't linear. You can't add load to every exercise every week. It's like, no, you can't.
You can try.
But those things will figure themselves out.
Yeah. And I think just know the vectors that you're playing with. It's like there's load and reps really for us.
Yeah.
When you look at overload, like in progression.
Yep.
We're not really playing with anything else in resistance training. So it's like, there's guidelines or I guess a bit of leniency within rep ranges in most cases for most people. It's like, even if it's a 7 and you can't micro progress the load, do 8 reps.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have a rep range, there's still a rep range there.
Yeah.
It's like not everyone's going to be able to have access to micro progression plates where it's like, you can go up like a kilo or something like that. So you're going to have to go
0.5 of a rep.
One of the biggest jumps is like, even in dumbbells for most people is like moving from like 22 to 22 and a half. 22 to 25 or
10s to 12s,
females.
12s to
15s. 10s to 12.5s. It's like, that's fucking like 20% of the load or whatever. It's like, it's a big jump, you know? So you're not going to be able to jump up in weight. You're going to have to jump up in reps, you know? Volume load's a really good one. Just remember looking at things in isolation as well as like in volume, because when you up the load, the volume load's going to go down because the reps are going to change and stuff. But it's like, you got to again go, well, I'm acutely exposing my muscles to greater amounts of tension, and then I'm going to accrue that volume load over time. You know, so we use all of these things in a rational
total volume
sense.
load over the block, not just
just the session. Because if you're looking, you're like, oh, your volume load's gone down, but then you cross-reference it to the week before, but the load is greater acutely or like in isolation of the movement. It's like, that's still progression, and that's still going to lead to a better outcome moving forward. We've just got to kind of build the volume back up again. Yeah,
and you still had three working sets to the prescribed rep and reserve, which achieves the stimulus you're looking for the adaptation.
Yeah, that's it. You're still exposing those fibers to tension.
Yeah.
You're still going to get a very positive outcome from that. So so I thought they were good things to layer together. What's up, guys? So before we move on, just wanted to make sure you guys know about our free resources on the website. So go to www.stcfit.com/resources and take advantage of our free body transformation guide, our SBD guide, and our body transformation quiz. All right.
I'm going to have to go find that article and do a real series on it, I think. I forgot all about it. It's a fucking good article.
It's a good one.
Spent ages on it.
They're good proxies. They're good proxies to be aware of. Like, we do them normally, but I think that if your training it takes your training from like general to very hyper specific, just for yourself, like without even like touching how you train, like programming wise and stuff. Yeah, it's just that awareness, is super important.
Execution,
what's the best way to approach your workout nutrition?
Not how I did yesterday. So this is a good story. I fucked up yesterday.
Yeah. Is this a like fragile Ben story? His digestive system?
Actually, it ended up being that way. Yeah.
See, everything ends with Ben's digestive system.
Shitting himself.
Let him know. Yeah. Fucking hell.
So I was just talking. So I've found this. Added a new structure to my week. It was the second day yesterday. I've been listening to Mr. Huberman, and he was talking about people that are prone to anxiety, particularly if it's caffeine-induced anxiety, which I am, again, my sensitive digestive tract. Definitely part of that. So his idea is get up, get sunshine, move first, wait at least an hour before you have your caffeine. He has an in-depth explanation of how the receptors work and all that kind of stuff. I can't regurgitate it. I don't care. Did the thing.
Yeah, cortisol goes up over a period of time, wake you up, comes back down.
Yeah,
and then it's like
I don't want to try and name it because I'll get it wrong. But the receptor that the caffeine actually adenosine, that's the one. Yeah, the caffeine actually attaches to. Yeah, that actually creates a problem. It will create your 3 p.m. crash. Yeah, if you don't have caffeine straight away.
Yeah, because it's only binding to that receptor for so long.
Yeah.
And then you would have to... Then there's competition because adenosine's building up over the day, which is driving sleep.
Yeah.
So then you have this competition of wakefulness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just...
So get up, walk, and then, the anxiety stuff was actually eat before your coffee. So I've been doing like extended fasting periods just using coffee to control... to control... appetite. So I wasn't eating till like midday. So added breakfast, which means I was hungry as fuck by like 11, 12. Instead of having my first meal at 12, I was like, I'm going to smash this computer if I don't eat right now at 12 o'clock. So I had lunch. And then usually I have like ice cream and some pears as my dessert. So I was like, I'll just have my pears before I train, have my protein shake after I train, and that'll be fine. It was not fine. 150 grams of pear is not enough pre-workout.
What's that in terms of fucking nutrition? That'd be fucking nothing.
Like 160 calories. It was just enough that I felt like something was in my stomach.
Yeah.
Because in the morning I can train fasted, no problems. Like if I have a coffee and go straight to the gym, I actually am better than if I have breakfast and go to the gym. So, yeah, I think I did...
It's 87 calories.
Yeah.
You had 87 calories pre-workout. You would have burnt that off driving to the gym.
So,
walking to your car.
I think I did 9 sets.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like, because it was machine work, I've been a little bit slack.
Yeah.
So talking about training hard, they were all within that kind of 1 rep to failure kind of zone, including on the hack squat, which always fucks me up. So yeah, that was it for me. After 9 sets, I went home. Felt a little bit sick on the drive home. No good. And then I actually got to the end of the day and realized I had like fucking 400 calories, maybe more. Like I had the biggest bowl of Fruit Loops in the world.
Yeah.
After as like my dessert, and I was like,
you should have had that pre-workout.
Maybe I should have Fruit Loops before I train. But I was just like, I want my ice cream, and I only had Fruit Loops because we'd run out. Yeah. So I was like, for moving forwards, 3 o'clock will be cereal time, and then I will train at 3:30.
Yeah. So how you should do it?
So you should make sure you actually have some fucking food before you train.
Yeah, I think for people who train in the morning, like you've got to obviously have that trial and error period of like, do you feel better with food in the system or with food post-workout? Yeah. So I think in the morning it's like a bit of a personalized approach to that, like what they prefer. Yeah. But you would want to have...
So, sorry, just for an example, you're 100% eat before you train, I'm 100% don't.
Yeah, I'll have to eat before I train. Yeah. But I think I've just created I have to because I know. Yeah. It's like there needs to be some carbs in the bloodstream. Yeah. It's fucking glycolytic movements. Yeah. You know, I need to be able to perform, recover, those kind of things. I need to have protein, amino acids in my blood, obviously to help the recovery process post-training. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I don't know if like I need it, but it's like I need it. Yeah. I've told myself I need it. So if I go to the gym without it, it's like I'm going to have a shit workout. Yeah. So I kind of just get in my head. Yeah. But
if I eat before training, the drive home's all windows down, head out the window. Yeah. It's like, I might spew.
Don't get me wrong. Like you don't eat and go straight to the gym. Like, the best way to approach is if you're going to have a solid meal, you would want to have that about 90 minutes before you train. Yeah. Because it's going to take time to break down that solid food into, something that's passable to get into your digestive tract and into your bloodstream. Yeah. So you wouldn't want to go and eat, 400 grams of Fruit Loops or whatever and drive straight to the gym with like 300 mils of milk in your gut.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's it. It's like
milk was a bad choice.
Set yourself up to vomit 101. If you're having a liquid meal, obviously it's already kind of broken down, so it's going to pass into the digestive system a bit quicker. I reckon about 45 minutes is a good window. Mm-hmm. Protein shakes a little bit faster if you're just having it on its own, probably 20-30 minutes. Yeah. It's still going to be different from person to person. Mm-hmm. So I think meal 90 minutes before you train, you're probably better off having some carbs and some protein and a little bit of fat because you want to have that available access to glycogen and glucose in the bloodstream, bit of amino acids from the protein. The fat's going to slow down the digestion a little bit, so you're going to be able to get that little bit more sustained release while you train. If you've got the carbohydrates to do so and your workout permits it and you're doing a high amount of like glycolytic movements, like anaerobic exercise, then like weight training and bodybuilding, then you could have some carbohydrates when you train if you've got the calories to do so. Post-training, like I think I would just look at like the window from my first feed before training to my next feed. There's people like, anabolic window doesn't exist. It's this, it's that, or it does, or it's advantageous to, or what. I think like if you ate, 2.5 hours, 3 hours ago, your workout's done, you've driven home,
it's probably time to eat.
You have the appetite to eat, just eat. Yeah. If you're hyper involved in maximizing your progress and you want to build as much muscle as possible, I think that having your protein post-workout and then having a meal after that whenever you feel hungry enough to do so is probably an advantageous thing to do because you're probably doing like 100 sets a week. Yeah. And you got to rock up to train tomorrow.
It's one of those things that the pendulum just swung too hard.
Yeah.
It was like you don't have to crawl to the drink fountain and fill up your protein shake before you leave the gym.
It's like
it's okay.
Yeah.
You can go home.
Yeah, there's not like 20 minutes, and then once that it's over.
And you don't need to get the fucking $100 a kilo hydrolyzed, super fast absorbing
protein.
Like you could get away with casein, it's fine, or some fucking chicken. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
But with all that said, if you're allowing time between when you eat and when you train, there's also plenty of evidence to suggest that frequent feeds of bolus protein are really positive for body composition. So it already falls in that window anyway.
Yeah. That's it. It's like if you eat and then you only do a 45-minute workout, like you don't need to eat again.
Yeah.
It's been an hour. Yeah. Like, or an hour and a half. Like if you have a protein shake and then you do a 45-minute workout, like don't worry.
Yeah.
It's okay. Wait another hour and eat agagen.
Yeah.
Like it's been
unless you only had pears and then go
eat something. If you have a meal that's going to serve you and sustain you through your workout. And then I just like the idea of like it doesn't hurt to eat post workout. Like if you like, there's no harm in not doing it.
Yeah, but don't. Yeah, and that's with the pendulum thing. It's like don't let it fucking create all this anxiety around. Yeah, my workout was a waste of time if you don't eat.
Yeah,
but if you can eat.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so then you just, if we break it down, it's like 90 minutes solid meal, 20-30 minutes maybe a liquid meal. Have some protein, have some carbs, have a little bit of fats if you can. Post-workout, you want your protein and you want your carbs more so. Like, you can have a little bit of fat, but you just really want like foods that are going to digest a bit faster, kickstart that recovery process. You want amino acids and you want glucose to do that. So that's how you would do it. From that first feed during your workout to your post feed, around 3 hours is probably a good place to be. Yeah. So I think that's probably the best way to approach it. And then leading on, like people talk about meal frequency. What's up, guys? So before we move on, just a little bit more information for those people who are curious about coaching. Maybe they want someone to take care of their training, get a bit more specific, take it to the next level, or even just keep them accountable to all of the things that they need to do. So again, you guys can go onto the website, get a little bit more information. It's got all the information on there on what's involved to take your training to the next level. You can hit the inquiry button, and then we'll get on a strategy call and see what we can do for you. So it's like, how important is meal frequency throughout the day? Because some people are like, oh, you just got to hit your calories and you just got to, and that's all that matters. And I think that's a valuable thing for the general population and general population weight loss. It's like, yeah, sure, like just work off one metric. Yeah. Don't even talk about macros. Don't even talk about anything. Like if you're overweight, fine. People who listen to the podcast probably aren't overweight. Yeah. Probably take their training seriously. Probably want to look good naked. Probably want to be strong, muscular, whatever. It's like there's layers now that we have to think about. So from a meal frequency perspective, your feeding every 3 to 4 hours is probably going to be ideal. You know, do you have to eat every 3 to 4 hours? No. Could you stretch it out to 2 to 4? Of course you can. Yeah. It just depends on your schedule. But frequent feedings of protein are really valuable for people invested in body composition that embark in strength and power and resistance exercise. Yeah. Because our protein stores, or our body doesn't store protein where we can just access it. It's only available when we eat it for a certain period of time. So after that, it gets, it moves away and we have to eat again, in layman's terms. So to make sure that we've got these constant feedings of protein throughout the day, we need to just sparingly, put them back in the system. So every 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 4, whatever it is, you'd want a serving of around 20 to 40 grams though, because that allows the muscle protein synthesis rate or the muscle, or just mTOR in general, to be elevated. So the synthesis rate to be elevated, because there's enough leucine in the food to trigger that. Yep. So if we're invested in maintaining, improving our muscle mass, we want to take advantage of those things on top of resistance training to maximize our growth potential or recovery. So 20 grams will give you, say, a stimulus that's like maybe 80%, and researchers suggest that maybe around 40 grams will maximize that muscle protein synthesis rate. Yeah. Can you eat more protein than that? Of course you can. Yeah. But it's just like if you're using it just for, triggering mTOR and keeping muscle protein synthesis rates elevated for the period of time that those amino acids are available in the system, then that's what you would do. Yeah. But if you're wanting to eat a meal that's got 50 grams in it or whatever, it's like, yeah, sure, the 10 grams of amino acids will just be used for other shit. Yeah. Because that's what our body does. It uses those amino acids for other things. They service a wide variety of things, especially those 9 essential ones. Yeah. So yeah, it's just like every 3 to 4 hours, just have 20 to 40 grams of protein.
I think the other consideration there too is like, let's call it a high performance individual. that also wants to feel good, that wants to have good cognitive function, good decision making, maybe deal with like anxiety and all that kind of shit. Like frequent feeding has a pretty big impact
100%.
on all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, so the one thing people don't really talk about is it's like hunger regulation.
Yeah.
And it's like eating every couple of hours and picking specific foods to sustain you during those periods of time is going to make you perform better. Like our body runs off, fuel. Like it needs it. And if it doesn't have it through food, it goes and accesses it in other ways through the system itself. Your body fat, proteins, whatever it is, depending on the circumstance. So, your brain's going to function better if it's got food in the system. Your body's going to be, your performance is going to be better in the gym if you're, got food in your system. Like there's so many different things that happen or that we don't look at that are going to make us improve better or feel better or move better or do better if we're feeding, consistently throughout the day, along with staying hydrated, of course.
So I'm curious I know you tend to not have as extreme drop-offs in terms of like if you miss a feeding window with like cognitive function, how you're feeling, mood, all that kind of stuff. Do you plan in extended, because I don't want to call it fasting because it just has a particular connotation. Do you work in extended periods of time without feeding to regulate the ability to do it? So like if you're out on the weekend and you don't have access to food,
you don't turn into a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I went too far in the spectrum when I was younger, pursuing getting huge, that I saw what that does to the system in terms of hunger regulation. So when you ate, like I used to eat every 2 hours, like religiously. So I was like, I had to have 50 grams of carbs, 40 grams of protein. And if I didn't, I would fucking turn into a really unbearable human being. And what I worked out is, or what I figured was, I was really poor. My body was very poor at changing from using glucose and fat for fuel.
Yeah.
Because I was just consistently feeding it every single time.
Yeah.
So it never really had an opportunity. And that's what can happen when we go through like, extended growth phases and where there's surplus of calories and stuff. Like we never really get into a situation where we're like, build, there's an anabolism and catabolism, because it's like a, like a pendulum that kind of, keeps the body's capacity to do both things, moving
all the time.
Yeah, moving all the time. But when we're consistently putting it into surplus, like things are still breaking down, obviously, like it's just the way it works, but it's just so much anabolism like that happens with all tissues, fat and muscle, that we kind of can impair the function to use fat for fuel and gain that metabolic flexibility. So a thing that I still try to do is like have the periods where like you extend the fasting period, maybe a protein fat breakfast every now and then, which has been shown to keep that metabolic flexibility. And I think that's a really valuable thing to do, because then you can go longer periods without feeds and not turn into a person that's like unbearable because they're so hungry.
Yeah.
And I think it's really valuable for a physique athlete, because when they move into a fat loss phase, like they don't have that like huge shift that has to happen for their body to start using fuel. Like it's not a really dramatic kind of shift where they're just like, oh, I feel like fucking shit.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they feel great again. And it's like, that's that lag period where your body's just like, I don't know what the fuck to do, because you've just given me large amounts of glucose forever.
Yeah.
And I just haven't had to, kind of search for something else. So there's probably like a bit of value in that as well, that it's just like, cool, now we're using fat, now we're using carbs, now we're using this. Like, I think for an athlete, that's a really important thing to do.
I'm actually thinking strategically for myself, like reintroducing breakfast. I'm actually thinking about pulling my feeding window back from dinner rather than in the morning.
Yeah.
So like my last meal's at
so you go
7
longer
instead of at 9:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's an extended window. It's still like 7 till 8 kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's still a 13-hour window of no feeding.
Yep.
Which would have been the same if I'm not eating from 9 till 11. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think any, and that doesn't have to happen all the time either. Like,
yeah.
It just has to happen every now and then. You just got to be able to like just dip your toes in.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a growth phase, like there's so much food. Like, you can't really go extended periods of time without
you need that meal.
eating. You're not going to get it in.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so hard. And it's like, think about the stress that it puts on the digestive system to get the food in a shorter window.
Yeah.
And then you got to look for maybe foods that are a bit denser and like maybe they don't sit well digestively. And it can just create a clusterfuck of other problems. So you've got to like just think about like how often does that person really need that? It's like probably just enough to not turn into a fucking gargoyle when they go for an extended period without food.
Yeah.
And that's going to probably allow them to have a little bit more runway within their growth phase as well.
Yeah.
Just having that flexibility metabolically. So
I
think like that's what I would do for most people. And I've seen it anecdotally, like when people have that like lag period where they feel like shit going into a cut, and then after like 2-3 weeks, they're like, I feel amazing, but I'm eating less food. I don't understand it. And I'm like, yeah, that's just because for me it makes sense that
metabolic adaptation.
Yeah, well, like that mechanism's upregulated now, and we've gained that flexibility metabolically to move towards body fat, because it's like if you got body fat to lose, like there's energy.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like you're
not starving.
Nah, especially like at the start of a cut, it's like you've got fucking heaps of it on your body. It's just more once that starts to run down to a point where your body's like, hang on a minute, we're fucking dying here. Then it goes,
this is a problem.
Let's start fighting back a little bit, But initially, like we should be okay with it, you know.
What's the longest fast you've ever done?
24 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, a little bit longer than that. It would have been like, it was okay. Yeah. I mean, like, look, it was a modified fast because I was having amino acids.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not like, and I was having food. So I wasn't like those fasts where you have no water, no.
Yeah.
So it was like water, BCAAs. So yeah, it wasn't really like technically a proper fast.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I just don't see the value in it now. Like the only time I fast now is if I have like digestive distress.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one thing that just fixes.
Yeah.
Like you get IBS for whatever reason, like, you've eaten some foods that don't sit well, you're going out for dinner or whatever, eating food in a bolus amount, it's like do an extended fasting period and you'll be fucking sweet.
Yeah.
Then it's just like have some water, reintroduce food again in a small amount, and I'm very confident that in most cases you'll be okay.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Just fucking fixes everything.
Yeah.
Time just to let that digestive system just heal itself, reduce the inflammation. Have no food. I think it's just having no food in it is just like, think about it. If you're like,
it's time to empty.
If you're stressed and fucking inflamed for whatever reason, putting more food in or making it do more work is, even if it is just normal work, that's not really, it's going to take longer to heal itself, where you can just go a period where it's just like, okay, don't do any other extra work. Don't do any work that you're supposed to be doing. Let's just, heal yourself and fucking let's get on with it later. Like it's going to make sense to me.
Yeah.
So there's the bro side of me. Coming in.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. So like other than that, training questions about like, how to train biceps and shit. Like I got shit biceps, so like I can tell you how to train them. I can't tell you how to get big ones.
Have incredibly long forearms like me. And it's really easy.
No, I think the bicep question, like when you train your biceps, I think that you just need to think about like how to position yourself to maximize tension in the arm. Like I was working with a client yesterday and she was showing me her bicep curls and she automatically went into this was a standing barbell curl and she automatically went into a position that deloaded the biceps. So it was like, bent knees, soft knees, slightly leant forward posture.
Yeah.
And then it was like, moving at the elbow, if you were just looking at the elbow, it's like, yeah, sure, like it's fine. But it's like, you're not positioning yourself to load the bicep properly. Like when we actually look at it, like you're in free weighted space, like line of pull is going downward. Like it's not really kind of putting a lot of emphasis on the elbow flexors to, kind of allow that elbow to move and stuff and stress the bicep. So I think like, you got to be really conscious of where you are in space. And like, that's with every exercise, but like that and position of your shoulder blades, like most people's shoulder blades will like elevate and protract, and that again is like trying to deload the bicep.
Yeah,
it's taking tension away. So you've got to like make sure that shoulder blade is stable. It's kind of pinned down. It doesn't have to be like overdone or anything like that. But it's like just put your think about the arm. It's like the humerus kind of goes into the shoulder socket. So then it's relying on that kind of complex to stabilize that bone. And it's like, if that's not stable and it's moving around, or it's, I guess like not semi-rigid, then that's going to affect the amount of force that this muscle can resist. And then if we're not obviously like, positioning ourselves, in the best way possible, then it's going to be, really hard to kind of stimulate that tissue.
Yeah.
And then I would just say like, don't look for these really fucking complicated exercises.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like most people that ask that question, they're thinking there's a secret.
Yeah.
Like, I used to do it too. I used to think there was a secret.
That's why I laughed.
Yeah, it's like, I don't have a
ages.
big chest because I'm missing something. Yeah. There's some movement that I'm not missing, or, I don't have big fucking whatever. It's like, in most instances, it's like, pick movements that, stimulate the tissue that feel good for you, and progress them.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, they're going to be very simple stuff.
Yeah.
And come from a foundation of strength as well.
Yeah.
Like, I find that in this era, people are moving more towards that access to ROM stuff that we spoke about in the podcast previously on learning about exercise selection. They're moving to those like nuanced, like, I'm working the shortened position of the bicep. And it's like, okay, cool. So like, how many reverse grip chin-ups can you do?
Yeah.
So you can't do a reverse grip chin-up, but you're doing like on the cable, like externally rotated shoulder, like getting maximum shoulder extension and flexion to like work the shortened position. It's like, okay, cool, man. Like, build some fucking strength and load the muscle
with one plate on the cable machine.
Yeah. It's like, the pendulum is swaying too far towards hyperspecificity for people who don't need it. Like, you just, get strong, work the mid-range of the muscle length in most cases, which is going to be your traditional exercises for every muscle group. And then I think after that, you can start to go, all right, cool. Like, as your knowledge increases, as your skill increases, as your capacity to expose muscles to greater amounts of tension increases with that skill, then look for these like nuancy movements and stuff, and start to look at like, okay, well, I need more brachialis development to like get some more thickness. I need to work like more, maybe like length in position bicep, whatever. For whatever shape that you want.
Yeah, but if you can't load the basic exercise and like feel it and it's effective, a modification of it isn't going to be.
Yeah.
So if you can't like the bicep, for example, like if you can't get a straight bar and do curls and put the bar down and not be able to straighten your arms because your biceps are that pumped, it's like, do you really need to be that fancy cable position? Like, do you need that?
Yeah.
If you can't even access it because your elbows are falling underneath, your wrist position's wrong, your shoulder position's wrong, your hip position's wrong, you're not creating any rigidity through the system before that. Like, if you can't get there, why go into the complex exercises? And then like, so the way I train is so simple. Like, if Max prescribes like bicep exercise, it's like either supinated dumbbells or like straight curls.
Yep.
Why? Well, I haven't trained that exercise like consistently for a long enough period of time to have a mismatch in development there. Like, I don't look at my bicep and be like, oh, it's not big enough like in the shortened position or whatever. It's like, I just don't train arms. So train arms. Yeah. And then do that. If I did that consistently for 6 months to a year, like, okay, now I need to think about like, maybe I need a preacher curl variation on a bench and position myself nicely and focus on this particular part of the ROM. But I'm pulling up sore as fuck from just doing curls.
Yeah.
Not that soreness is, you know what I mean? Like, soreness is an indicator of a good workout, but
you still work that muscle.
It's like, if I'm waking up with sore arms because I did it, it's like, well, it's probably enough right now.
Yeah. I think that's a good place to kind of close on for that. Like, 5 movements that are comfortable, 5 movements that work the muscle, 5 movements that you can progress, and I think you'll be in a really good position.
Yeah.
That's with most muscles.
Yeah. And boring programming is the best in most cases.
Well, the stuff that's lasted the test of time. Like, there's always going to be, your straight curls and, your dumbbell curls. And like, I think the other thing to consider is just like, just what crosses over the elbow joint that, musculature that we need. It's like, you're going to need a little bit of forearms, you're going to need a little bit of brachialis, you're going to need the biceps to be stimulated. Like, there's just different movements that work those musculatures that are going to develop them. So don't just look at it like I'm just working the biceps. Like, look at it like I'm working the muscles that attach around the complex of the elbow and the shoulder joint to a degree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's part of that there too, like, even as a coach, getting caught up in these advanced concepts, like you said, the ones that sustain the test of time.
Yeah.
We get into this zone where it's like, now we're talking about compression expansion. We're talking about, what was Pat's like internal external stability
I didn't even bother.
Grounding, I think it was. High ground, low ground exercises. Like, we're starting to create all these concepts that didn't exist. And it's like, did people get bigger, stronger, faster, whatever, more powerful without that concept?
Yeah.
Yes. Then it's not, I'm not saying it doesn't have value. What I'm saying is it doesn't revolutionize anything.
Yeah.
It's not fucking pick up your whole training library, put it in the bin, and only look at things through this lens now.
Yeah.
Which is what people get caught up in. And like, if you're a trainee who is on Instagram, who's on TikTok, who's seeing all of this information, who's seeing all of these variations or whatever, you're like, oh, well, that's the secret to big biceps, is Jace's fucking externally rotated high cable curl with shoulder flexion. Like, if you're seeing all that, you can be like, oh, well, that's the thing. It's like, do people get big arms not doing it? Yes. Yeah. Well, that's not the thing.
Yeah. It's fine.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And you can consider it and maybe put it in and maybe adjust some stuff in some situations of how you look at it, but it's not magic.
No. The magic is in the work ethic and the progression.
Yeah. It's the first part of the episode.
Yeah.
Are you training hard enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. I think that's us.
Beautiful. That was good. Lots of good take-homes. Got more questions, guys? Pump them into DMs, STCfit, or Ben and I's personal inboxes. Mm-hmm. Put them out in the podcast. Maybe we'll do one of those anonymous ones where people can just put the questions in if you're too scared to let us know that you don't know.
I haven't done one of them yet. I'm scared.
Yeah, I mean, we probably get some random ones. I reckon the boys will just hijack it. Fucking Jackson and Giannis will just fucking put some bullshit questions in there.
Good chance.
But yeah, like, just pop them in. Makes this more specific for you guys, and we get to talk about good shit, which is like coaching people.
Like, share, subscribe, screenshot, post, do all the things. Leave a comment.
That's it.
Feed our algorithm.
Coaching info, check out STCfit.com. Free resources, body transformation guide as well. YouTube, all the good stuff.
Yep.
So yeah.
If you are a nerd, we will be in Sydney on December 2nd, presenting on exercise selection for strength and physique. So it is targeted at coaches, but if you want to expose your brains to
some of the
that
nuance
content and you're in the Sydney area, head to stcfitlearning.com/events and you can find tickets. Awesome. Maybe see you next week.